Salvete discipuli, welcome to this short video on two very important and hopefully very easy grammar points, the genitive of possession and the ablative of place where. I know these are odd names, but this is what they've given us to work with. Okay, let's get started. If you don't already have your endings memorized for the first declension, you're going to need to take out your notebook or watch a video on the cases and the declensions. You have to have these committed to memory in this order, knowing what they all mean before the rest of this can make any sense. Now that right there is your genitive singular ending, okay, which means one person owns something, like the name of the farmer or the farmer's name. It's his, he owns it. And there's also a genitive plural. We might say the name of the farmers. There could be many farmers. And of course, our ablative, always easy to spot in the singular with that macron over the vowel. In the plural, it just looks just like the dative. Okay, there's an is all the way down at the bottom. So let's start off by looking at the genitive of possession. Now, this is an easy one to start with because the genitive generally is about possession. So look at that first set at the top. Reginai via. Well, there's an AE at the end. Now, that could be a couple of different things, three different things. But since we're talking about the genitive, you already know that this is going to be possessive. So Reginai, Regina is the queen, via is the way. So Reginai via, okay, or if we want to do it exactly the other way around, via Reginai, we're going to get the Queen's Road, or the Road of the Queen. I prefer the second option just because we can avoid any confusion with apostrophes. Okay, now let's look at the bottom one. Reginarum via. That arum in blue is also genitive, but now it's plural. Reginarum via or via reginarum will give you the Queen's, that's S apostrophe, road, or the road of the Queens. Now let's take a look at the ablative of place where. The ablative, we know in the singular, has an A with a macron over it. We also know that the ablative could be a couple of different things. It could be by or with, and there are other combinations that work. We're going to use the word in here so that we know it can't be by, it can't be with, it can't be from. So we have in silva, which is in the forest or in a forest, and in silvis, in the forests. Now it is true that that is could be dative to the forest. How do you know which one to use? You have to try different combinations. Okay, and in tells us that it's got to be ablative. Okay, these are a set that come together, and the preposition must go before the noun. We're not going to say silwa in. In is a preposition. That means it goes in the preposition. It goes before the noun. In villa, in the farmhouse. In villis, in the farmhouses. In patria, in the home country or in the native land, in the fatherland. In patris. Now this one, we definitely want to be careful. The base is patri. And the ending here is is. I know that second I is a little difficult to see. So we want to be sure that we say in patris. It's a double I there. We can't get rid of patri. That whole thing has to be there, and we still have to put the is on there. In patris, in the home countries. In terra, in the land. In terris, in the lands. See how this works? In provincia, in the province. And this one's going to be just like patria. There's an I at the end of that stem, provinci. So how would we say in the provinces? In provinciis, in the provinces. Now, for some of them, we have like in Europa. Well, there isn't going to be a plural of this one because there aren't many Europes. There's only one. So some of these will only ever appear in the singular. In Asia, in Asia, in Troia, in Troy. We're not going to say in Asias or in Troys or in Europes unless we were going to make some statement like, well, for all the Europes of the world, but we're not going to do that very often in Latin. Now let's try mixing the ablative and the genitive. At the top we have in reginae silva, in the queen's forest. There's one AE there. And this is singular. Or we can say in reginae silvis. In the queen's forests. It's the same as the first one, except now there are more forests. In villa agricolae, in the farmhouse of the farmer, and in villis agricolae, in the farmhouses of the farmer. There's still one farmer. All we've done is we've gone from one villa to many. Next we have in nautae patria, in the home country of the sailor. In nautarum patris, in the home countries of the sailors. And did you see what we did there? We went from talking about something that belongs to one sailor to something that belongs to more than one. And we went from talking about one home country to being in multiple home countries. Next we have in terra poetae, in the land of the poet. In terris poetae, well, in terris means in the lands, poetae, of the poet. And finally, in feminarum provincia, in the province of the women, and in feminarum provinciis, in the provinces of the women. The most important thing you can do is break it up into small parts. If you see that in, you've got to look for an ablative somewhere after it. Okay, break it up into its component parts and you'll be able to figure out what it says. And that's the end for today. Wale!